Alright, so this is another one of my video blogs. This time I'm going to be talking about the interview that me and my group, Lauren and Natalie and I, had with our artist Roger Perkins, who is a New Age sculptor and also, as we found out, um, it dabbles in a lot of other media too. One we're going to focus on mainly is a small museum that he's made. In this museum, as we went on his website, looked through. There's a virtual museum. You can see what it looks like, and it is a little trip back in time to about a resort called the Greenham Resort, and it goes over um, its existence since a little before World War II till the modern day. And in there, it has a bunch of facts about the property, about different what it looked like and all the pieces from the time, actual authentic pieces from the time that Roger Perkins has collected. And so we prepared a list of questions about it, and we looked through it as because we had met him prior to the interview, and he had told us a little bit about it, and he told us to look through this particular exhibit. So we were looking through, preparing some questions, and we quickly realized in the interview that there was a lot more to it than just a museum. Because if you think about it, a museum's not really artwork. But the other aspects he revealed to us are what really reveal this as a work of art. So anyway, we go on, and first question is, what inspired you? Pretty general. What inspired you to create the Greenham Resort Museum? And he quickly revealed to us what the real message behind the museum was. He was standing in a green meadow that used to be a runway for an Air Force base, a United States Air Force base um, in England. It was the original uh, um, front forward command center, the staging area for the D-Day invasions, and it eventually would go on to be used to store cruise missiles, nuclear missiles, which was a huge, very unpopular with the English people. A lot of tensions, being so close, of course, to the Soviets that time during the Cold War, so close to Eastern Europe, and so in the Soviet Russia. And so there's a lot of protest, big, well-known area, and he realized standing in the meadow, all this grassland was covered over it, and it was very difficult to look at it and say that it was an Air Force base. And he realized that he could not only that he attempted to sort of recreate this, and the physical landscape had been altered, and so he attempted to alter the history of this place, and so he made this museum fictitiously. It wasn't about. There's no such place called the Greenham Resort ever existed. But he made a museum about this place, and people believed that it was real. People bought into this rumor, even though it was such a famous site. It'd be like rewriting the Civil War and saying it never happened or something. It's just mind-boggling to believe that he could do it, and it worked. He managed to fool so many people. So of course we really were interested in that, and we continued on to ask, how did you create it, and how long did it take? Just general questions like that. It was about 18 months. A lot of it was fundraising and just getting the land, and about a year was actually a full year he was involved in building the place and putting it all together. He worked 12 hours a day. Well, for a whole year, he worked a very long time in it. We asked him also what emotions and reactions did he expect to elicit from the audience, and that we didn't. We asked that because prior to him explaining this to us, we didn't understand 100% why this was art, what he exactly he wanted to provoke. Um, from people, but right, of course, by the time we got this question, we sort of began to understand. And he affirmed this, and he answered, of course, that he wanted to show people, he wanted people to realize that it's not that difficult. If you try hard enough, if you work hard enough, you can make people believe whatever you want them to believe. Which is, of course, I believe it's really relevant to what we're going over in class about how even Franco are these little tricks that they're doing and how they're working to make people believe these things. Um, they're completely ridiculous. This how he made people completely look over this site where people were in protest for 15 years who lived at the base, at the perimeter of the base in protest. And also it's so relevant because of, as a film major, that's what you do for a living. You make people believe something that's not real. You really try to make them believe that these things that so many times you know they can't be real, but you look at it and you just believe it. You just understand completely what's going on, and it just calls into question a lot about what is real and what is not. And of course, that is our next question is, or I'm sorry. Anyway, our next question is, when you were creating this gallery, what was your state of mind? And he said, of course, focused. He was very obsessive, and like I said, he was in working on it not for a whole year. He was just nothing but this project. He spent all day, 12 hours a day, for 7 days a week working on it. Um, and but he was, it was a very lighthearted sort of sense. Of course, a very serious issue that um, he was attempting to address, but in the same time, he wanted to look at it in sort of a almost a similar way that Eva and Franco do. They in an almost joking way. Um, and so, anyway, the next question we do is, what did you think your intended message would be? And it was received, or was it received correctly? The intended emotions, as I was talking about before, yeah, they were received very well. Because it is so easy to believe this, so it's easy to believe what he's written and everything. It's so convincing, and then you realize what actually happened at this place, and you can't help but realize how much of a fool you've been for believing this. You know how ridiculous it is to do what you've just done and believe it, and it's powerful. I think it's actually pretty brilliant how he does it. So the message is very well received. I know it was received pretty well by me, and he believes that the message was really well received by by the people who viewed the gallery. and then uh, and then our last question to finish it up was, what is your opinion on the U.S. storing missiles in the location of your museum? And he said he strongly opposed this. Of course, he strongly opposed the use of nuclear missiles in general, and that he was very strongly opposed to foreign countries storing these weapons of mass destruction in his country, which is kind of a foolish question. But really, what we were getting at more is, was this museum put there in protest? Was it like angry? Was it very was it in protest of the United States placing the missiles there? And he said that that was um, almost a secondary thought. Something came later. Really the real intent of his message is that it's so easy to fool people. It's so easy to be fooled, and that you have to sort of, everything you do and everything that you believe, you sort of have to put in context of who's told you and how you came to realize that, and how easy it is for somebody to say something and it could just be completely false, and how hard it is to really know what something really is. And he went on to further tell us about how the text in his museum, how that affected people so much, and how that affected the message so much. And he told us something that I actually took to heart, and I really still believe in it. When you go into museums, you look and you have to realize that a lot of times the art is the work's artifacts. They will not change, but it's the text and what the people who are presenting them, people who are the owners of the museum, the galleries, are presenting that will change. And you have to understand how culture will affect how these pieces will be presented, and how he told us. I mean, you can look at a piece and you can bring up your own ideas, your own thoughts, and then if you look at those, that's a healthy way to look at something. If you look at the text, you can look at that in a different light. But unfortunately, sometimes if you see it through the text, you might be fooled into believing that this person must of course know what they must be right. They must have the right answer about what this piece really means, and you might kill your own belief, your own interpretation of what you originally saw without the text. And that is, of course, he believes that your original idea and what you originally thought is much more important than the text. And so I believe that that's something that's really important, to look at something through your own eyes first. And no matter what facts are presented to you, no matter what you've been told, to hold that, of course, because it's very important to know, to be informed, but to hold that hold that alongside your own belief, which always should be uh, the trumping thought, your thought. Your, it's more important to believe what you believe and not believe what somebody tells you to believe. And I believe that's a huge theme behind his gallery. I believe that he did an amazing job presenting that, and I believe that we're going to keep that in mind when we're designing the gallery. And I think that we're gonna have to put a lot of work into this, but I think it's going to be something pretty special. And yeah, this interview definitely helped a lot, and I think it's going to help a lot in the upcoming couple of days.